The recent resounding success of Deadpool vs. Wolverine 2024 proved that the popularity of both these characters, especially Wolverine, has remained strong amongst the fans. While Deadpool played a major role in the success of the film, it was the much-anticipated return of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine that the fans were most looking forward to. Needless to say, they were not disappointed. As seen through the various different versions of Wolverine shown in the movie, this fan-favorite X-Man has had a long and storied history in Marvel Comics. The character of Wolverine needs no introduction. We all know him as the yellow spandex-wearing, claw-wielding, forever-regenerating, cigar-smoking badass from Marvel Comics. Born as James Logan Howlett during the late 19th century in Canada, he would murder his real father, Thomas Logan, for killing his adoptive father, John Howlett, without knowing the former's true relationship to him. It is then that his mutation manifests in the form of bone claws. He would live a long life, aging at a snail's pace thanks to his healing factor. Logan's journey would take him from one conflict to another, and eventually he would travel as far as Japan. At some point in his history, Wolverine is kidnapped by the Weapon X program and is experimented upon. His memory is suppressed and his skeleton system along with his bone claws are fused with the metal adamantium thanks to the experiments conducted upon him. He would escape and later join the X-Men and would embark on adventures both solo and as a team from there on out. Wolverine made his debut with a cameo in the Incredible Hulk issue number 180, and he was meant to be a mere side character with no further development planned for him. This would all change when Wolverine saw a surge in popularity, which continued to increase as different writers and artists took up the mantle to flesh out his character and stories. The latest of which is the present is legendary comic book writer Jonathan Hickman and returning artist Greg Capullo of the Batman Court of Owls fame, set to take the helm for a new Wolverine series. The series is set to be a 5-issue miniseries titled Wolverine Revenge, and issue number 1 has just recently hit the shelves. Jonathan Hickman promises to deliver a high-octane, no-holds-barred Wolverine story. Although seemingly set outside the regular Marvel continuity, it shares a connection with the 1993 X-Men crossover comic Fatal Attraction. So, in this video, we will discuss the perceived connection to this classic and explore the first issue of Wolverine's Revenge. So without wasting any more time, let's sink our claws right into it. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Connection to Fatal Attraction 1993. The background for the new Wolverine series seems to loosely have Fatal Attraction 1993 as its backdrop. We believe that Wolverine's Revenge is set in a universe where the events of the iconic 90s series played out a bit differently due to various inconsistencies that we have found as we read the issue 1. For those who are unfamiliar with the story of Fatal Attraction, here is a brief summary. The comic sees Magneto's return to form as the villain of the X-Men after several years of being a sympathetic figure. Magneto had launched a space station named Avalon, which was meant to be a safe haven for the mutant population. However, the rest of humanity would view this with suspicion, as they believed that Magneto had not built this space station to be a sanctuary, but instead had created it to raise an army for war. Out of fear, the United Nations Security Council would launch what they had dubbed the Magneto Protocol. This protocol consisted of a series of orbital satellites that projected a mesh of electromagnetic fence that was meant to interfere with Magneto's ability to use his powers. Needless to say, this would prove ineffective and would only serve to enrage the mutant leader. In response to this affront, Magneto would lash out and unleash a devastating blast of electromagnetic pulse that would not only destroy these satellites, but also have a massive impact on Earth, with planes falling off the skies and several other fatalities attributed to the sudden disruption in technology and electronics. It would create mass casualties on the planet, with many more set to die as the situation got worse. In response to this, Charles Xavier gathers up his X-Men and decides to pay Avalon a visit, and in no uncertain terms, we are led to know that this was not meant to be a peaceful one. Once there, the X-Men clash with the Acolytes, who are Magneto's own gang of mutants. While the day seems to have been won by the X-Men, Magneto appears and starts quickly overwhelming everyone. After having endured the psychic attacks from Jean Grey and Charles Xavier's combined, an enraged Magneto freaks out and starts taking out the X-Men one by one. Even more quickly, just then Wolverine launches a surprise attack on him, which momentarily overwhelms Magneto, but just as the tide seems to be turning, Magneto rips off Wolverine's adamantium from his skeleton, seemingly killing him. Charles Xavier is then forced to wipe off Magneto's memory, leaving him in a vegetative state. These events would have a deeper ramification later on during the X-Men Onslaught saga. We had to go into this explanation because you needed to know a few important details that show up as inconsistencies with the beginning of Wolverine's Revenge issue 1. The issue begins by telling us that Asteroid M, which was another name for Avalon, was destroyed during re-entry into the Earth's surface. We're also told that Magneto dies and releases a massive EMP that devastates most of the northern hemisphere. We know from the brief explanation we have given that Avalon is not destroyed during its re-entry into the atmosphere, nor does Magneto's death release the deadly EMP. We know that in the original continuity, he releases it much earlier and not as a last resort. Magneto also survives, although he is reduced to a vegetative state. In the first few panels of Wolverine's Revenge were shown Logan with his adamantium claws still intact, which could not have been possible, knowing that Magneto had ripped off the adamantium from Wolverine, which has started a series of comics where Wolverine was seen with bone claws. Now, the most glaring evidence that Wolverine's Revenge, although sharing some ties with a Fatal Attraction comic, is set in an entirely new universe is that we're told all of this universe's events of the Fatal Attraction took place merely 10 days before Nick Fury finds Wolverine in the Savage Land at the start of the comic. If one were to not pay attention to these details and is not familiar with their comic book lore, it is easy to mistake Wolverine's Revenge to be a title dedicated to Wolverine's Revenge against Magneto. It is thus evident that while Wolverine's Revenge shares a connection with the events of Fatal Attraction 1993, it is not the same event but an alternate version of it that it truly uses it as a background for the background of this series. Wolverine's Revenge Issue 1 Explored. The Hunting Party. The comic book kicks off 10 days after this universe's version of the Fatal Attraction storyline takes place. We're taken to the Savage Lands where Wolverine is seen riding a freaking Triceratops as a part of a hunting party with the natives. They seem to be on a hunt for a beast that had been troubling the natives recently. We're shown that Wolverine has made himself nicely at home and doesn't look remotely like he had just had his adamantium ripped apart from his body. In fact, he seems very much engrossed in the thrill of the hunt as the monster, it turns out to be a giant carnivorous dinosaur, shows up and the two engage in battle. With Wolverine taking out his adamantium claws, he is on the verge of making quick work of his quarry when the creature is shot by a laser beam. The shooter is revealed to be Nick Fury, who is met curtly by Logan, who states that the leader of his shield bearer has had a good reason to interrupt this hunt. An almost exasperated Nick Fury then says, "My God, you really don't know, do you?" To Wolverine alluding to the devastating aftermath of the Fatal Attraction as it happened in this universe, confirming that we already knew. Unlike the original continuity, Wolverine was not present in Avalon during the said events. Fury remarks that while Logan had been away vacationing, the world was on its last legs and tries to recruit him into his own version of a hunting party. Logan glibly remarks that he is Canadian and doesn't owe America his patriotism. However, less than 8 hours later, he is seen in a SHIELD helicarrier, presumably joining the party after he is informed by Fury that his native country, Canada, no longer exists, thanks to the incident. The Great Heist. Within the helicarrier, we learned that, unlike in the original story, Avalon had crashed into the Earth and detonated right above the Canadian city of Quebec. This resulted in the near-total annihilation of the Northern Hemisphere, with the rest of the world set to follow as soon as power plants and energy resources shut down all over the globe. Fury remarks that only 3 out of the total of 20 helicarriers under SHIELD now remained functional. After Avalon/Asteroid M blew up, Fury and his SHIELD team had only managed to survive because they were halfway across the world in Perth when the event took place. Nick Fury is shown to have gathered Captain America and the Winter Soldier to be a part of his A-team to salvage this situation. While the Captain asks Fury whether their efforts would not be better suited to helping the survivors and preventing further casualties, Fury replies the only way to save the world is to now steal the only remaining technology that is still generating power on Earth. He informs the heroes that their job is to pull off a heist in the Brotherhood of Mutants base, which held the only cold fusion reactor seed to ever exist. The team members are told that the base is located in Tunguska, Russia, and is led by the mutant known as Mastermind. Descent into death and madness. Just as the team appears in high spirits, their operation is compromised by Mastermind, who crashes one of the 3 remaining helicarriers using his powers. With the event of secrecy lost, the 3 heroes drop from the helicarriers with parachutes accompanied by Maria Hill, Dum Dum Dugan, and other agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Moments later, the remaining helicarriers are destroyed, seemingly killing Nick Fury and every other person within them. As the team drops behind enemy lines, they decide to split up and make their way to the objective. While doing this, they're stalked by a not-so-mysterious enemy and slowly taken out one by one, with Maria Hill, Dugan, and the rest of the agents getting ruthlessly murdered. Even the Winter Soldier and Captain America are caught off guard and subdued rather easily. When it comes to Wolverine's turn, as the element of surprise no longer works on him due to his superhuman sense of smell, these shadowy figures are finally revealed. It is revealed to us that these killers were none other than Deadpool, Sabretooth, and Omega Red. The three quickly lunge at Wolverine as the panel comes to an end. The aftermath of their capture. The scene shifts to show us Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Wolverine all strung up with their hands over their heads to pillars in a dark room. Upon checking up on each other, Captain America and the Winter Soldier remarked that they felt something was wrong with their chests. Logan informs that he was awake when they somehow overcame his healing factor and stuffed something in his chest. He remarks the same was done to the two of them as well. That very moment, the posé of villains led by Mastermind appears above them, revealing that the trio were in a pit. The villains confirmed that they had inserted bombs into their ribcage thanks to Deadpool's idea as a contingency in case they tried to escape or do anything foolish. While Logan berates the villain, he shows disgust towards the betrayal from his former teammate Colossus, who suddenly appears before them and is shown to be a part of the villains. Colossus chastises the three in their self-righteous cause and says they are deluded by it to justify their thievery, while claiming to be a mere victim of the circumstances just like them. Colossus allows the captain and Bucky to escape by freeing them from their shackles. The two rush to get away from the range of the detonator held by Deadpool, and as Wolverine continues to talk to Colossus about the state of affairs, it is revealed that the only reason this base was left operational was because a mutant named Unis the Untouchable had died shielding it from the effects of the blast. Just as he finishes his sentence, Deadpool, in his usual glib manner, presses the detonator and we witness Captain America and Winter Soldier being blown up to smithereens. As an enraged Wolverine begins to claw out his own chest to remove the bomb and go after the villains present, Colossus apologizes to him, saying that it didn't have to be that way before Deadpool presses the detonator once again and blows Wolverine to bits as well. As his carcass falls into the pit, the group discusses what their next step is, to which Colossus replies they will use the generator to light up their half of the world as they walk away from the scene. This, according to him, would result in a golden age of their people built on the graves of the West. Unbeknownst to them, Wolverine is seen resurrecting in a grisly, visceral manner from the blast. The final panel shows him in an almost feral state, indicating that he has entered into primal berserker mode. The first issue of the miniseries ends on this note. Marvelous verdict. Issue number 1 of The Wolverine's Revenge is filled with hard-hitting action and the deaths of some of the most notable characters in all of Marvel in the very first issue. It completely subverts all the expectations of the audience and instead sets the stage for a bloodbath that Wolverine is going to carve out in the subsequent issues. If anyone knows anything about Wolverine, they will tell you once he goes into his feral rage, the best of them flee from him. He will slaughter everything that lies in his path, whether they be friend or foe, with unmatched brutality and relentlessness. When Logan is in this state, he literally becomes a berserker, unable to register pain or injury, consumed purely by his bloodlust. We're still unclear in which continuity this is based on, because this surely cannot be Earth 616 due to the deaths of all the people that we saw during the course of the issue. It is interesting how the creators decided to revisit some of the legacy comics and try to loosely tie them up to the current series. It really sets up the upcoming issues well and is paced like an action film. Whether it is the recruitment of an A-team to pull off a heist, a plan gone horribly wrong, or the sacrifices that we see, it truly feels like an action movie. The storytelling of Jonathan Hickman and the stellar art of Greg Capullo is at full power here, with every panel bursting to life with raw energy and emotion. We for one cannot wait to see where this series will take us next. For now though, we have come to the end of our video. We hope we managed to pique your interest regarding Marvel's latest Wolverine offering, coming straight hot off the heels of the Deadpool vs. Wolverine blockbuster. Thank you so much for sticking with us right to the end of this video. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next one. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.